Video, we're going to go over getting started in Pixlr. So the first step in starting in Pixlr is finding your start file. So I wouldn't recommend just dragging a picture from the internet into Pixlr and using that as your start file. If you do that, what will happen is you are constrained to the dimensions of the image, which means that whatever the resolution of the image is, that will be the resolution of your artwork. So instead, you want to start with a start file. So for this project, I'm going to be starting with an 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of paper that has a 300 resolution. So that's 300 pixels per inch of paper. So I'll click on this, and this will bring me to what appears to be nothing. But actually, there's a big white rectangle that is the correct size, the correct number of pixels across, and the correct number of pixels down. So I'm going to right click on this, and that will allow me to save the image into a folder. I'm going to put it in my Art in the Digital World folder. If you're working on a Chromebook, you'll want to put that on your Google Drive in an Art in the Digital World folder on your Google Drive. Here's the name of the file. Here's the file type. I'm just going to click save, and I've actually already saved this in here because, well, I'm the teacher. So, but you would actually click save here. Once you have the start file, the next step is to go over to Pixlr. So the easiest way to get to Pixlr from this website is to go back, and I made a link to Pixlr Editor. That is the one that we are going to be using. You can either install this as an app, or you can work on the website. I think it's just as easy to work on the website. So I'm just going to click on the link here. This will bring me to the Pixlr editor, and this is the startup for the editor, and it's just asking me how I want to begin my creation. So I can either create a new image, and there I'd actually have to type in the pixels per inch up and down and all of that. Here I can open an image from the computer. That's what we're going to be doing most of the time in this class. Or you can open an image from a website. So I'm going to click Open Image from Computer because we just brought that into our folder. Here is the file that we're going to be using, that size, the 8.5 by 11 inch 300 resolution. When I click Open, you should see that it'll show up on the left here. Here is the file that we'll be using. And if I look down at the bottom, right down here, I can see the actual pixel dimensions, 2,550 pixels across by 3,300 pixels up and down. The next thing I would do is change the view. There's a lot of extra stuff up here that I don't really need because it's in my web browser. So I'm going to go over to here on Chrome, and I'll click down, and I'm going to make this full screen, so it's just almost only Pixlr here, and then I can drag this out bigger and center it so it's easier to work with. Over here I have a bunch of different panels, including a promotional one, which I'm just going to close. We have the navigator, the layers, and the history panel. The navigator panel allows you to zoom in and move around on your image. So I have this little red box, and it's scanning around the image. I can also change the percentage of zooming, and for me, 25% appears to be the size that gets me pretty much everything on my screen. Down here are the layers. This program works in layers, which we'll be talking about later. And history allows me to see what I've done, and I can step back a certain number of steps if I mess up or need to go back. On the top, you'll notice that there are a bunch of different menu items. Each menu item has drop-down selections, such as the layers panel. You can do all of these things with layers. There's all sorts of stuff up here. This bar here is the toolbar, and it has all of the tools that you might use while you're making your artwork. If you click on each tool, you'll notice this bar under here changes for each different tool's options. So if I was working on the brush tool, I can change like the brush size, the type of brush I'm using, the opacity, which refers to if you can see through it or not. Each one has different stuff. Some of them don't have very much stuff. Some of them have a lot of stuff. Also at the bottom here, this little big rectangular box is the color that I'm working in. Right now I'm working in black, but if I click on that, I could change the color to whatever I wanted to and then paint with that. If I was using a tool like the paintbrush, here I'm working with black. If I change the color to say green, now it shows up green and I'm painting in green. And these are just a bunch of the ones that I've already done. So if I want to go back to black, I can click on that really quickly and I'm painting in black. So this is how you get started in Pixlr. To save this file, I would go up to File and down to Save. Here it gives me the Save dialog box. You can see it's trying to tell me where I'm going to be saving it. First thing I would do is name it something specific. In this class, I would start with your name, your last name. So let's say your last name was Johnson. And the project is, I don't know, we're doing the corpse project. And there are different formats that it can save in. These are all image formats. JPEG is a specific image. PNG is one where you can show transparency. BMP is another one, TIFF. We want to actually save it in the bottom one, PXD. All of these will basically take a picture of whatever your artwork is, and it will save it as that, and you really can't edit the layers, except for the bottom one, PXD. This is the Pixlr file type. It says layered Pixlr image. That is the one 99% of the time you want to save it as. Unless you are completely done and you want to print it out or use it for something, then we'll save it as one of those other image formats. Here it tells me the size, and I'll click OK. Then it'll ask me where I want to save it. I want to save it in my Art in the Digital World folder, and I want to know exactly where I'm saving it. I'm going to be saving it in a new folder, which I could make right here. Oops. New folder, and then I would just title this for this project Corpse, and I'm in my Art in the Digital World folder. I have my name right there, PXD file, and I save it in there. And now I have it saved as a PXD file. That way I can open it back up and continue where I left off. As you're working in Pixlr, make sure that you save frequently. So always be clicking save. Because this program doesn't automatically save. It's a web-based program. You need to keep saving it. So I would just get in the habit of saving it every 5 minutes or so. If you do something that's really big and important and you don't want to lose it, save it right away before something happens.